Hey there, everyone. Welcome into the show. I'm Clayton Morris. So glad to have you here. The show where we cover progressive issues that mainstream media will not cover. We've got a couple of big stories that are unfolding tonight on Capitol Hill we want to bring to you. I want to cover those for you tonight. We're going to look at what's happening right now with Marjorie Taylor Greene's hearing. That is unfolding at this hour. And you guys able to see me okay? It seems like I have a weird zoom in on happening here. Is that happening? Am I really seeing that? Okay. Hope no one's having some, hopefully they're not having some camera issues here. Hope that I'm actually, okay. Okay. Just wanted to make sure. I look like in the one video stream I'm looking at here, I'm seeing just a part of my forehead. So I wanted to make sure that, no, you're actually seeing the full part of my face, not just an upper crevice of my forehead. But I hope that that's the case. It actually looks like that is the case. You don't look zoomed in. Okay. Okay. Looks normal. That's really bizarre. Anyway, I'm not sure what's happening today. I swear, this Mercury retrograde, if you watched this on our live show this morning, there's some craziness going on, and now tonight I'm looking at the live stream video, and it's like I just see your looks weird, like you just see me from here up. Like, okay. Anyway, we're going to bring you some updates on the stimulus front this afternoon. We got some big news from the White House on where they will come down on the stimulus checks. Thank you in the chat. Everyone's saying, okay, you look normal as this can look. Man, I need to lose some weight. My goal, I need like 30 pounds. I got to do it. So we'll have updates on the stimulus front, updates from the White House press secretary, and where President Biden is on stimulus checks this afternoon. We'll get to that. The hearing, the House committee hearing right now is unfolding, and we've got breaking news on that front as we look at what's happening on Capitol Hill, because the House right now is looking at whether or not they're going to remove the committee seats for Marjorie Taylor Greene, racist QAnon conspiracy theorist Marjorie Taylor Greene, booting her off the Education Committee, off of Labor. And right now, it's gotten pretty passionate up there. So tomorrow, the full House will vote on this. And we're not clear yet whether or not she is going to actually appear in front of them. Will she stand in front of the entire House and make her case? She's doubled down on this, by the way. Over the past few weeks, Marjorie Taylor Greene has doubled down on these conspiracy theories. She's continued to push in the direction of President Trump on these things. And that's why the Republican Party has a huge problem on its hand right now. Whether they embrace the loony bin that's Marjorie Taylor Greene or distance themselves from her. And that's what Representative Kevin McCarthy is dealing with tonight. He's been pushed into a corner. And even many in his own party see this as a total no-win situation right now. He has Marjorie Taylor Greene, of course, who's a conspiracy theorist who has dabbled in anti-Semitism. She talked about the wildfires in California, of course, being started by lasers from space, Jewish lasers from space. She's Islamophobic. She's spouted all sorts of conspiracy theories about 9/11, Parkland shooting, Sandy Hook, etc. Democrats are moving right now to strip her of a number of committee assignments. And McCarthy is really backed into a corner. He even pleaded with Steny Hoyer, the majority leader of the House, saying, hey, please, maybe we can strip her of one of her committee hearings and we'll just keep the other one. And Steny Hoyer's like, nope, that's not going to happen. So on Capitol Hill right now, this is live. Members of Congress are together and discussing her future and holding a hearing on whether or not she will be removed from these committee seats. I think they need to get rid of her altogether. Will Republicans stand up and take we've already heard from Mitch McConnell calling her a loony, basically. Said what she espouses are loony lies. So this is a live look right now. Let's listen in.
Positions and
let's listen into these different committee members weighing their options. It got pretty fiery there for a few minutes. So let's listen in to hear this defense or removal of Marjorie Taylor Greene.
Said, leading up to her time in Congress and since her time in Congress. You had that as material that went into the decision you made on which committees this individual would serve on. And so was there a different and better way? Absolutely. And in the ensuing days, since it's been highlighted more and more of what this member's conduct has been, there have been ample opportunities during the ensuing days to make good on this, do the right thing. What's the old saw? There's never there's always, yeah, that's all I asked for it and I can't even repeat it. Never a bad time to do the right thing, I think is the way it says. So over the last several days, you could have done the right thing. You could have stepped up. And I think the minority leader has to take on the responsibility for what I think is a tragic, misguided decision. Could undo it. You could undo it today. You could undo it before the House acts. So this is a simple one. And frankly, this really is a question of right and wrong. I wasn't at the Pentagon on 9/11. I was in New York City. I watched those buildings burn and come down where thousands of Americans lost their lives. And Ms. Taylor Greene has indicated that she questions whether or not anyone actually saw the plane hit the Pentagon. I wasn't there. I'll assume that the thousands of witnesses and people in the building speak for it. But, you know, as others have said, you could continue to talk about this. The other thing that I find striking about this is it would be one thing if, having said or done some of these things in the past, the member demonstrated some remorse. That, and I understand from press reports, there have been
she's doubled down on it now
by colleagues, probably on both sides, but certainly on the Republican side, to have her come out and say publicly, I apologize. They were intemperate remarks. They were ill-informed, whatever it is you want to say. But she has not only doubled down, triple down, quadruple down. She has boasted of raising $1.6 million off of her comments in the last several days, as though this is some kind of joke or this is some kind of way to raise campaign funds. I mean, how cynical have we gotten? How just completely lacking in any morals would someone suggest that all of their comments to date should not only not be apologized for, but should be used as an effort to raise campaign dollars? I find it hard to imagine. Yes, these are unprecedented actions we may be taking. These are certainly unprecedented times, and she is certainly an unprecedented type of member. And in fact, I think has said publicly in tweets that if we do this, the Republican majority in 2 years will use this extensively to hurt Democratic members. I'm paraphrasing, but essentially that's it. And apparently now she speaks for the entire Republican caucus, not just for herself, but she's now going to say what they will do to us. I find this all incredibly, incredibly disturbing. And I came out of an institution and now I am part of another institution that values very much its history, its precedents, that values decorum, that values people having respect for one another, even when they disagree. But there's no room for that with this member, as far as I can tell. And to continue to double down, to continue to suggest that not only does she not regret her comments, but every indication that going forward, she continues to, and I'm sure probably will, use the same type of language, continue to engage in conspiracy theories. And I must say, probably the person that sold me most on voting yes today is probably Mitch McConnell. Because frankly, I don't know that I would say Senator McConnell has been a beacon over the last several years. For him to have reached a point to make the comments that he has made, I think says volumes about where we are and the actions we take. So do I wish, to my good friend, there was a different and better way? There have been. You chose not to take advantage of them. You should have. And I think everyone should be embarrassed by the comments that this member has made in the past and has continued to make. And so with that, Mr. Chair, I'll yield back and I will strongly support this rule and I will strongly support the resolution on the floor.
Thank you. Mr. DeSaulnier. You have to unmute. Yeah.
So if you're just joining us now, this is a live committee hearing to remove Marjorie Taylor Greene from her committee seats on the Rules Committee. So this is a hearing on the Rules Committee right now. That's Chairman McGovern, who said a few minutes ago, he said, if we're not at rock bottom, I don't know where we are. Like, I don't know what bottom looks like. If we're still considering the fact that Marjorie Taylor Greene's comments are not repugnant and need to be, she needs to be removed. Like, how much worse could you get than saying the shooting that took place at Sandy Hook or Parkland were staged, or that 9/11 was faked, or that, airplanes going into the Pentagon didn't happen? Just someone in our chat says, I lived right near the Pentagon when that happened. I saw a giant aircraft engine laying in the Pentagon lawn.
In the Republican Party have known about...
So this is a live committee hearing. We'll check back in on this in a moment as the different members get to weigh in on what they think.
But the question is, as a member, what has she done since she's come here in light of those remarks and in light of the insurrection that we had, and how has the Republican conference responded to that? And we all know, and these are just facts, that committee appointments were made.
I love how one member of Congress doesn't know how to mute, so every time he types on his keyboard, we can hear him. I love teaching Congress how to use technology, especially on a Mercury retrograde kind of day. All right, we've got a lot more news to get to. I want to get to the stimulus updates here tonight, and we're also going to hear from the MyPillow guy. Yeah, the MyPillow guy's back. And boy, he has a bombshell story he says that he's going to release on Friday. We're going to hear from him and how things just went bat crap crazy over on Newsmax. We'll show you that video in just a moment. You are absolutely going to love watching the MyPillow guy, and watch when a news anchor bails on him, literally gets up and walks away. You do not want to miss this video that I'm going to show you in just a few minutes. But first, let's talk about the stimulus. News this afternoon that President Biden is telling Democrats that he is willing now to compromise on stimulus checks. Oh, here we go. So in order to try to get this bill through reconciliation, which doesn't include Republicans, President Biden said he's open to refining key elements of his nearly $2 trillion coronavirus package during a call yesterday. A call today. Sorry. It was just late this afternoon. But he stressed the urgency of delivering the massive relief bill. So he told them on this caucus phone call that he is willing to compromise on the threshold that allows someone to get a stimulus check. So before, you'll remember, it was $75,000 in salary is what you earn would get you a stimulus check. And then above that, it would start to peter out. It was tiered after that. Now, there's been members of the Democratic Party, and specifically inside the White House, that are in favor, and even Joe Manchin, of course. This is what it all comes down to, of course, is Senator Joe Manchin from West Virginia, that we would lower that threshold down to $50,000, and it would peter out after that. So now we're really lowering the bar. We're really saying, hey, fewer people are going to qualify now for stimulus checks. That's basically what we're saying. And we're going to now say that $50,000 is where this will start. Do you not think that people that are earning $75,000 are also not in pain? I mean, how do you wrap your head around this? But I know why President Biden is doing this. It's specifically for people like Joe Manchin and Kristen Sinema from Arizona. This is why these people need to be thrown out. This is why these people need to be primary. This is why we need progressive candidates to go after and beat them in a general election. Enough with Joe Manchin. I'm going to say I heard from a lot of West Virginians today. Many of you sent me Twitter messages, Instagram, emails, etc., saying, hey, I'm from West Virginia. Thank you for speaking up for the people of West Virginia. I want Joe Manchin out. That's what they said to me. Good, because he's running in 2022, and we need a progressive candidate that is going to end his Senate career. Enough of Joe Manchin not standing up for the people of West Virginia, not standing up for progressive issues. He represents one of the poorest states in the country, and he thinks that $15 an hour minimum wage is too high? Time to go, Joe. There's another party that I'm sure that would welcome you. So, President Biden tonight saying that he is willing to compromise on who would be eligible for this next round of stimulus checks. He told them on the phone, he said, let's stick together. I have your back, quote, and I hope you'll have mine, he says. And he said, we need to move this quick. He said there's an alarming rate of suicides, worsening drug addictions right now because of this pandemic. We need to make a change right now. And he said, I'm not going to start by breaking a promise to the American people about getting direct stimulus checks. Okay, but what about the $2,000 stimulus checks that you did promise? That's a broken promise. Or you're going to pretend that the $600 that was passed back in December was the first part of it, and then you're just going to say $1,400, so that's how you're making this excuse work? Biden made clear he would not shrink the overall size of the package. He wants it to stick at $1.9 trillion. But he said, I am willing to become I'm willing to compromise. Those were his words. I'm willing to compromise on who ends up getting these checks. What size? Here we go. Compromise Joe. Here's Jen Psaki when asked about this today during the White House briefing on this question of stimulus and whether or not Democrats would fold to Republicans on a bipartisan basis. Listen.
Where is the space for bipartisan agreement when the differences are that significant across major components of what the president wants?
Well, an area where there's agreement to work together on is funding for small business. And that's something, of course, Democrats and Republicans want to do. Our view is that this bill itself is bipartisan. 74% of the public support it, Republicans and Democrats, independents across the country. And there is agreement that it's important to work with many Republicans and Democrats who fall on different parts of the political spectrum to put their ideas forward and consider them. And that's part of the conversation and part of the process now happening on the Hill. We will see. What proposals that improve the bill, that make it better, and there's certainly an openness to that.
One more quick relief. Several Republican senators have said publicly that they believe the president is in a different place than his staff on this issue in particular, and he is more willing to deal, perhaps, than his staff. Is there daylight between the president and his staff on the $1.9 trillion proposal?
Absolutely not. I've seen some of those reports. Many of them are ludicrous. I've sat in a lot of meetings with the President of the United States in the last few weeks, and even before then, there is no one who's going to tell him what to do or hold him back from his commitment to delivering relief to the American people. And I would point you to the fact that he talked about the importance of going big on a package back to the campaign. He talked about the importance of meeting this moment back to the campaign. So that is certainly his commitment, and that's exactly what he's working to deliver on.
And just one quick one on vaccines, circling back to something you guys talked about last week, I believe, Defense Production Act. I know you said all options are on the table. You guys are working through.
So he's going to keep his promise. He's going to keep his promise on these stimulus checks, right? She said even going back to the campaign, he made this promise. And he's going to stick to that promise. So what exactly is that promise? Is that promise the $2,000? That was a promise. What happened there? Do you remember these promises?
If you send John and the Reverend to Washington, those $2,000 checks will go out the door.
We will be able to pass $2,000 stimulus checks for the people next week.
We'll deliver the $2,000 stimulus checks.
And that begins with the $2,000 stimulus.
When you send me and Reverend Warnock to the Senate, we will pass those $2,000 stimulus checks. You send me and Reverend Warnock to the Senate, we will pass those $2,000 stimulus checks.
They will make decisions about whether we give people a $2,000 check.
We need to pass $2,000
$2,000 stimulus checks for the people.
For getting people that $2,000 in relief, direct payment.
Congress should pass $2,000 checks. President-elect Biden and Democrats are all pushing for $2,000 relief checks.
$2,000 stimulus checks.
$2,000 relief checks. $2,000 relief checks. They should send $2,000 checks to the American people right now.
Supporting $2,000 relief payments right now.
We need to be passing the $2,000 stimulus relief checks.
That means we need John Ossoff and Raphael Warnock, who will go to D.C. to ensure the $2,000 checks.
You see ads that say, want your $2,000 stimulus check? Vote Democrat. Vote for Warnock.
Stimulus check.
Just a little reminder, in case we all forgot about promises. So Jen Psaki says, you know, President wants to keep a promise. He wants to keep his promise going back to the campaign, his campaign promise to pass stimulus. Okay. We hear you. I hear you. Let's keep our promises. Let's do it. Let's pass stimulus. But now he's willing to compromise on those $1,400 stimulus checks. Look, I don't for one second believe that governing is easy. People, but as Hans Wolf says in my super chat here, he says, people are killing each other over shoveled snow parking spots. People are crazy. They're stressed out and they're losing it. Yeah. We are not a first world country anymore. I said it this morning, and I tweeted about it this afternoon. We are not a first world country. We like to hold ourselves up as a first world country, right? Care about our people. Of course, we think we do. We can't even manage to get a simple stimulus package that provides monthly stimulus checks for the American people. Many of you have signed my petition. We're waiting for this to wrap up and sending it to members of Congress for $2,000 recurring stimulus payments. If you go to morninginvest.com/sign, you can sign our petition for that on change.org. And we have now a number of members of Congress who are getting on board and supporting that recurring plan. Over 60 of them have now signed on in support of recurring stimulus for the American people. We need something big. And a time for us to be, small has passed. There was never a time for us to be small during this entire pandemic. You look at a country like Australia that had the wherewithal to put in place stimulus for their people, and then at the beginning of the pandemic, back in March, and then they actually had a meeting about it. They had written into the law that they were to have a midsummer meeting about it to see if they needed to renew it in September. So they passed stimulus for the Australian people every month. Then they set in the legislation that they would meet again in July to discuss whether or not they would renew it in September. They care about their people. Canada, $2,000 a month. France, wages covered. 100% of wages covered in Japan. All through the Nordic countries. Make America great again. So while Republicans slept all summer long and into the fall, and McConnell did nothing, President Trump was out golfing, tweeting and crying about meaningless BS, the American people are suffering. And now they're killing each other over parking spots during a snowstorm. And we've got conspiracy theorist Marjorie Taylor Greene in the middle of a committee hearing right now. And members of Congress are deciding her future and whether or not she will continue on those committee chairs. By the way, one member of Congress brought up a really interesting point to say, how are we going to allow Marjorie Taylor Greene to sit on a committee on education when she espouses conspiracy theories about these children and mocks them, stalks them and mocks them about being involved in these school shootings? Like you are on a committee that is there to help children? And you say that the families of that this stuff was staged? I mean, my heart I mean, shattered. It was the day, I remember where I was when I saw the Sandy Hook story unfolding, and I just couldn't believe it. And to think my kids were in school that morning, could have been anyone, could have been any school. Here's Debbie Wasserman Schultz speaking on Marjorie Taylor Greene. It's her turn now to weigh in.
Could have enough strength to urge
from Florida.
The Steering and Policy Committee to take action, but you have not. In the face of a global pandemic and in the wake of a devastating attack on our capital and our democracy, we're facing another unprecedented and divisive moment which threatens this nation. And I want to look at the facts. I know they've been gone over, but I think it's important for us to review them clearly. Congresswoman Marjorie Taylor Greene has advocated for execution of leadership of this House, of a former president of the United States and other political adversaries. She's encouraged violence against law enforcement, an utterance no member can condone or continue to stand by. We paid tribute to a slain Capitol Police officer this morning, and just yesterday, 2 FBI agents were tragically murdered in the course of their duties in my own congressional district. Not satisfied with engaging in sedition, she has a well-documented record of making repeated racist, anti-Semitic, and Islamophobic comments. She has spread baseless and cruel conspiracy theories, even claiming, as has been noted, that the horrific shootings at Sandy Hook Elementary and Marjorie Taylor.
So this is Debbie Wasserman Schultz from Florida, speaking out about removing Marjorie Taylor Greene from her committee seats as on the Republican side. She is a Republican from Georgia who's been espousing, who's Islamophobic, anti-Semitic, says that the Parkland shootings, the Sandy Hook Elementary, that those were staged, that 9/11. I mean, how does a person like this get elected in the first place? I mean, she is the product of Trump's America right now, where someone like that can get up in front of a megaphone and, spew this kind of hatred, and there's people out there that will jump on board, and they voted her in. She was elected. QAnon conspiracy theorist was elected. Remember how the Third Reich in Germany came into power? At the ballot box, people voted for the Third Reich. Yeah. I think it was like they got like 27 or 28% when you had those multiple political parties, but that's how they won. They won at the ballot box. People elected them. This is how this starts. People elected Donald Trump. People elected Marjorie Taylor Greene. Who are those people? Are they just misinformed? They literally believe this garbage? So tomorrow, the full House of Representatives will vote on Marjorie Taylor Greene. We're going to be watching that closely tomorrow morning on our live morning show at 9 a.m. Eastern Time. If you're new here, please subscribe to the channel. We do our show every morning at 9 a.m. Eastern Time. I want to show you a piece of video now because talking about crazy conspiracy theorists, crazy conspiracy theories, is the MyPillow guy, Mike Lindell. So Mike Lindell, of course, huge Trump supporter. Would go out to all of these rallies, and when he was at the rallies, of course, he was there just altruistically, of course, just to show his love for Donald Trump. And at the same time, of course, he was giving out coupon codes for people to order their MyPillows. Those crappy pillows. I've had so many people say, I ordered those MyPillows and they were awful. So now, of course, Twitter shut down his account. He tried to get a meeting with the president before he was leaving office to try to basically put some sort of a militaristic coup in place to keep himself in office. That was MyPillow guy, conspiracy theorist Mike Lindell. Maybe he and Marjorie Taylor Greene should hang out a little bit. I'm sure they'd have a lovely meal. I would love to be on a fly on the wall of that lunch. So anyway, Newsmax, of course, that was Newsmax, the right-wing nut job network, was all in on Donald Trump conspiracy theories. All in on it. All in on Mike Lindell, all in on the Dominion voting machine story, all in on saying, repeating those ridiculous rumors about Dominion voting machines that were created by the Trump administration and floating those Rudy Giuliani rumors, etc. Now, notice that Rudy Giuliani has not been invited back on Fox. He's not been on any of these networks because now they are facing defamation lawsuits from these voting machine companies, from Dominion. And now they had to go on the air, of course, and issue all kinds of corrections and apologies and say that, hey, we had these people on our air. We could not verify their information. We have no independent information about Dominion voting systems being rigged, involved with Hugo Chavez. They had a whole laundry list of things that they had to talk about because they were about to be sued out of existence. So now they won't let any talk about Dominion voting machines on their air. Like, that's it, because they could be faced with a major lawsuit again, right? So watch this unbelievable moment with the MyPillow guy, Mike Lindell, on Newsmax, espousing some just golden nuggets of BS. It is absolutely beautiful to withhold. If you like this, please share this out with your friends on Facebook or other places. You're gonna absolutely love this. I loved watching this because I used to work in the mainstream media. So to watch this unfold, I just thought these guys don't want to be sued themselves. So take a look.
Apparently now has permanently suspended the MyPillow company account, the company account, after its CEO, Mike Lindell, used the page, they say, to continue posting. This comes as Twitter permanently banned Lindell's personal account last week. Joining us now to discuss is the founder and CEO of MyPillow and the author of the book, What Are the Odds? Mike Lindell. Mike, thank you so much for joining us, and welcome. So what happened? What happened with your Twitter account and the company page?
Well, first, mine was taken down because we have all the election fraud with these Dominion machines. We have 100% proof. And then when they took it down about 3 weeks ago, and then when I put it back up, my personal, it was a
Mike, thank you very much. Mike, you're talking about machines that we at Newsmax have not been able to verify any of those kinds of allegations. We just want to let people know that there's nothing substantive that we've seen. And let me read you something there. While there were some clear evidence of some cases of vote fraud and election irregularities, the election results in every state were certified, and Newsmax accepts the results as legal and final. The courts have also
I like that he's literally got a cheat sheet in front of him. Like, he's like, okay, if anyone on our air starts talking about Dominion voting machines, you got your paper. Ready? Newsmax cannot independently verify anything to do with Dominion voting machines being rigged or otherwise. Blah, 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 blah. No CODs. Return to sender.
Supported that view. So we wanted to talk to you about canceling culture, if you will. We don't want to relitigate the allegations that you're making, Mike, because we understand where you are. So let me ask you this. Do you think that this should be temporary? Because it appears to be permanent. Could you make an argument that it is temporary?
What?
Could you make an argument that this could be a temporary banning rather than permanent?
No, I want it to be a permanent because you know what? They did this because I'm revealing all the evidence on Friday of all the election fraud with these machines. So I'm sorry if you think it's not
Mike,
real.
Can I ask our producers, can we get out of here, please? I don't want to have to keep going over this.
Actually,
we at Newsmax have not been able to verify any of those allegations that you're...
Mike, hold on a second. Everybody hold on a second. Mike, hold on 1 second.
Watch him.
Let's talk a little bit about just what is happening overall in terms of censorship of...
Trying to cancel out my company and myself. In this country, it's cancel culture.
Just gets up and leaves. I'm done. Sorry. I've had enough crazy for 1 year. I'm out. All right. What's your name? Heather? You're going to take this. You're going to handle the crazy? Okay. I'm out of here. Got to go. But I love that the producers, like, who's the director and who's the executive producer in that control booth, by the way, that doesn't, like, okay, this is ridiculous. End it now. Cut them off. No one can hear you because you're yelling. By the way, if you're the CEO of this huge company and you're going to tell the world how you were canceled and you've got this big, get a good microphone. We can't hear you. Get a good microphone. Get a good set. You're going to be on national television espousing your conspiracy theories. So the update on this story is that this guy, Mike Lindell, on Friday is going to be out with what he says is a bombshell documentary, 3 hours long, where he's going to show the world. He said it'll be the most important 3 hours of your life that you ever spend. Who's in? You guys want to watch this together? 3 hours of Mike Lindell's conspiracy theories? You want to watch that on Friday? I literally would rather go down to the garage and have you take a hammer and some nails and slam them into my foot. Like, if I was given a choice, you're going to have to sit through 3 hours of a Mike Lindell video. Or, I don't know. You have to listen to, like, fingernails on a chalkboard for 3 hours. I'd probably go with that instead. Or, like, if I had to watch a Trump rally for 3 hours, I might even choose that. Because it might be funny. 3 hours of a Mike Lindell of this guy. Great. I can't wait. So, but I just love how Newsmax, like, they have their prepared statement just ready to go, just in case somebody goes off the rails again with this Dominion stuff. And here's what our legal department says. We have no information on that. We have no proof. We have no, but we're allowed to have all these people on our air who espouse this BS for the past 3 months so that we could try to grow in our ratings. But now when we're faced with a defamation lawsuit that would literally wipe us off the face of the cable networks, we have no proof of that. That's convenient. So that means you can just go on the air and say anything you want. Interesting. So let's listen again to this committee hearing. This is the committee hearing on Marjorie Taylor Greene, as these different members of the Senate right now make their the House make their case as to why she should be removed from her committee seats.
That Representative Omar has espoused both before and during her time in Congress. The majority is seeking to hold Representative Greene to the standards of the House rules for her conduct and words while she was a private citizen. But they have said nothing and will do nothing about Representative Omar's conduct and words while she's been in office. I don't doubt that many of you believe that you are defending this institution with this vote. But now, if you can prove it by going off the script this hearing is supposed to follow by voting your conscience to make my amendment in order, please take off your partisan blinders. Hold your colleague to account for the shameful conduct she has exhibited while wearing one of these pins, and then maybe we can talk about Mrs. Greene. With that, Mr. Chairman, I will yield back.
So I thank the gentleman for his testimony. He is right. This is the Rules Committee, and the gentleman's been around since what? I think he got elected, came here in 2015, if I'm not mistaken.
I did. I came in 2015.
Right, and so the gentleman knows that the Rules Committee has to follow the rules. The gentleman provided an amendment to the Rules Committee. I'm sure his staff must have checked with the parliamentarian. Is not germane. So we don't normally make non-germane amendments in order. We never do.
That's a smackdown. Like, this is the Rules Committee. Like, you were here, you've been here for a couple of years. You don't know how this thing works. You're going to try to put in an amendment on Representative Ilhan Omar when we're talking about Marjorie Taylor Greene being thrown out? Of these, it has nothing to do with that hearing. Like, why are you lumping this crap together? Beautiful. So there's a few little nuggets on this that we're just getting in. House Minority Leader Kevin McCarthy is going back to Liz Cheney and is going to keep her in the leadership during a closed conference. He is going to back Liz Cheney remaining in House leadership during a closed conference meeting. The leadership is taking no action on Marjorie Taylor Greene in this closed meeting. So, two big pieces of information breaking just now, moments ago, that Kevin McCarthy, the House Minority Leader, on the Republican side, is not going to is going to back and support Liz Cheney remaining in House leadership positions, despite her voting to impeach President Trump. That's big, and probably made all the more big by the fact that Mitch McConnell came out and threw his support behind her the other day, and then also said that basically Marjorie Taylor Greene is a loony and basically does not deserve to be serving in the House of Representatives. So right now, Kevin McCarthy is looking like he's being weak-kneed on Marjorie Taylor Greene. So we will see tomorrow what happens in the full House of Representatives and whether or not she's voted to be removed from these committee assignments and therefore even more broadly be removed from Congress. But it looks like Liz Cheney will go on in a leadership position in the House. That's good. Liz Cheney speaks her mind, says that Donald Trump is a stain, a cancer on this American presidency and needs to be removed and impeached. She was speaking her mind. She voted her conscience. And she will remain in a leadership position in the Republican Party. So Kevin McCarthy walking a fine line here. So that is the very latest, folks, from Capitol Hill. This sort of fiery committee hearing is pretty fun to watch tonight. We had the Mike Lindell, the MyPillow guy, flipping out. He's going to drop a bomb on Friday, 3-hour documentary on his what he's uncovered about the election. Can't wait. See what the MyPillow guy has to say on Friday. And President Biden willing to compromise on the size and breadth of those stimulus checks. Not the amount, $1,400 is what they will continue to be. However, he is willing to lower the bar down to $50,000 instead of $75,000. So that means if you're making $75,000, you're probably not going to get a stimulus check if you are a single person. That's what this is shaping up to look like at this hour. So these are all of the very latest nuggets from Washington. If you're not already a subscriber, please go ahead and subscribe to the channel. Really would appreciate that. So you can be informed on these progressive issues that are incredibly important to the future of our country. And turn on that little bell notification so you'll be notified when we do go live. Also, I should mention, tonight we have a live on our paranormal channel. Any of you who are interested in the paranormal, the unexplained UFOs, mysteries, and things like that, we have a brand new video, a premiere tonight on our channel. So it's just youtube.com/paranormalpost. We've got a story about this. There's a bizarre rash of pet vanishings. And it's a really fascinating story. So come on over here and you can RSVP for it, and you subscribe to the channel, but then you just hit a reminder, and we will be live with that story on these pet vanishing stories. So it's just youtube.com/paranormalpost. Paranormal Post. What's happening here? Something's getting fiery.
I mean, just that alone sets up this whole thing. And I've heard your testimony, and you want to try to equate Rep. Omar with what's going on here. But this started by the selection of Miss Greene, who questions these shootings that we all know happened, to put her on labor and education. That is the whole point here, to my friend. And I don't, if you want to respond to that, feel free, but that's what's got me so upset, period.
Well, if I may respond, Mr. Chairman, I consider Ed Perlmutter a very, very good friend. Over the years that I've served with him on space and science, we have similar loves and likes, and we've traveled together, and I really appreciate that. And I appreciate what you're saying. And I'm not here to address the supposed statements by Mrs. Greene.
Oh, that's the whole point of the meeting. It's about Mrs. Greene. Ugh, Congress. Hey, I want to thank you for somebody. See, is it Angie Mr. Swords? just sent me a very kind super chat for $100. Thank you so much. My condolences for the loss of your dad. My dad who passed away last week. Keep one thing in mind. He's in a better place. Love your show. I watch it in the morning and I watch it in the afternoon or towards the evening. I never miss it. Always wishing you all the best to you and your family. God bless you. Thank you so much. That's very kind of you. Really, really. We had to spend quite a bit of time this afternoon on the phone on a Zoom call with a funeral director going over what music we'll play at the service. And there's a lot of tears this afternoon picking different songs and things that we know that he loved. And so thank you so much for that. Angela G. Super Chat says, I'm starting to regret that I voted for Sleepy Joe. He's being a wimp. The Republicans wouldn't have thought twice about being bipartisan. Don't regret your vote. I mean, look, if Bernie Sanders was on and you had an opportunity to vote for Bernie, or you had a more progressive candidate like a Tulsi Gabbard or Andrew Yang, but we didn't get that. What we were left with was Trump or Biden. And we had some third-party candidates that didn't get any traction because Democrats managed to keep Howie Hawkins and others off the Green Party ticket in Pennsylvania and stuff. So these are all big corporate parties. What we can hope is, though, that they are getting pushed by these progressive candidates, the AOCs of the party, the Representative Ilhan Omar, the others that are pushing Joe Biden and Chuck Schumer in more progressive ways, or they're going to get primaried. And that's what my hope is with people like Joe Manchin. And that's my hope with Chuck Schumer, is that he truly is scared about AOC breathing down his neck, and he is going to be pushing for big, bold, progressive plans, like eliminating student loans, student loan debt, etc. So don't regret it just yet. We're 2 weeks in, and he is moving forward with a $1.9 trillion package, despite his little dance with Republicans. I truly believe he's already made a huge number of executive actions that are pretty darn good. So let's just hold our powder a little bit, keep it dry, okay? Because I'm right there with you. But let's just wait. Let's just wait just a little bit longer here, Monique Wood says, hey, Clayton, as you know, I've been fighting for our president and the Democrats, but I'm at the point of being faithless. All of our parties seem no one is making ground for us in broken promises. I know. Hold your faith, though. I mean, I've been warning you, though, for months, right? If you've been watching my show for any length of time, you know that these parties, the Republicans and Democrats, are two corporate-run parties. They might as well be one party. That's why when a defense budget comes up for a vote, they both vote for it overwhelmingly, case closed. Because all that is lining the pockets of these corporatists. That's it. There's no daylight at all. They all vote for it overwhelmingly. So again, like what I just said to our other viewer about don't be faithless. Just let's give it a shot here and see if these progressives can push. But then you've got the Joe Manchins in the middle who are going to push the opposite way, and that's why we need to throw this guy out. That's the goal. Thank you all for your kind super chats tonight. Sandy Garrett says, I make $12,000 a year. Anything is better than nothing. I'm on SSDI. Everything is going up, but our pay. Can any of you live off of $1,000 a month? I don't see how. Rent is going up. Rent has skyrocketed. Costs of food, goods, gasoline. Everything has gone up. Heck, and then you're home trying to watch Netflix, if you subscribe to Netflix, just to get some entertainment in your life. And the cost of Netflix just went up last month. Everything's going up. My heart goes out to all of you. Thank you guys for being a part of our show. I've got a lot of planning to do on the new studio. If you are a channel member, we're going to start to post some videos of the studio coming together. Once we officially get into that space, we're building a brand new studio, new set. I'm super excited about it. Thank you for all of your support. We're taking the channel. We're going to 11. We're turning it up to 11 around here. And I'm really excited about that. So thanks everyone for joining us tonight. And we will see you back here bright and early tomorrow morning at 9 a.m. Eastern Time. And again, if you do want to join us tonight for our premiere over on our Paranormal Post channel, come on over here. You can do that. It's youtube.com/paranormal post. We'll be covering this missing pet, this vanishing pet story. Paula Jean's swear engine may run against Manchin in 2022. I will check that out, Zach. And that name sounds familiar. You know, when I lived in West Virginia, I covered West Virginia politics. That name sounds familiar. But maybe I'm just misremembering. But thank you, Zach, for that. I will check that out and see if she is up to snuff as a progressive or a pretend progressive. We've had enough of those. Have a great night, everyone. We'll catch you back here first thing tomorrow morning.